All right, let's try this again. Hopefully this time we're going out on Twitter. We just went out on Instagram, and hopefully this time we're going out on Twitter. Let's see. We'll give it a minute and let everybody try to roll in. Again, here we go. This is the Sunday Swings live show and discussion. My name is Chad Longworth. I hope that your week is going well. If you're just rolling into the show for the first time and you found me on Twitter, I'd appreciate if you'd retweet the show, share the show, grow the thoughts. That's what this show is. This is meant to be a thought-provoking discussion show where I kind of post the topics and the talking points, and then we go from there. If you're just rolling in, again, my name is Chad Longworth. I am a trainer, coach, baseball, just a curious baseball mind that is constantly searching for better ways to think about things for the betterment of players in the coaching community. Again, we'll let everybody roll in 24. If you're just coming into the show, I'd appreciate it if you'd retweet the show. Again, if you're catching this on podcast, I'd appreciate it if you'd like the show, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, please hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. Share it and grow the thoughts. Here's my topic for tonight, and it's just really basic. This is my thoughts and message to young coaches. If you're a young guy coming out of college or coming out of professional baseball or even coming out of high school and you just have a desire to coach, here's what I would tell you. Don't coach the way you were coached just because you were coached that way. What that means is, question what you know, question what you're doing, ask why. Why did I do that? And I'll use myself as an example, and I'll use my own coaching career as an example. I played professional baseball for 4 years. Got drafted out of high school and played for 4 years. That part is irrelevant. Here's the part that's relevant to the discussion. When I got out and when I decided I would go back to coach and help young players, I was kind of where everybody else is. I was just going to talk the way I was taught. And so, the way I was taught, if you know anything about me, if you know anything about my journey in professional baseball, it was swing down, it was backspin, it was stay off the top of the cage. It was all the cliche things that you hear. And so that's what I did. I only know the parts and pieces of these coaches because I've done them, and I know they're not the best things. I'm not guessing that is not the best thing. I know it's not because I've been on both sides of the coin. I am where I am now because somewhere along the way, I started to question what I knew and what I know, and it's still something that I do every single day. Is I question what I know or what I'm doing, or can I do it better, or what's a better solution, or what is a better way, or what is a better process, or what is a better way to get this? What is the better way to get this movement mechanic, whatever you want to call it, to happen for this individual player? And we've been down the rabbit hole of knowledge of performance. We've been down the rabbit hole of overload, underload training. This is the rabbit hole of just questioning what you know, or what you were taught, why you were taught it, and do you think it's the best way to be taught? I'm surrounded by coaches all the time. I work in a big facility a couple days a week, 11,000 square feet to 7 cages, so I hear a lot of conversations. And a few of those conversations are former college players or current college players who are coaching travel teams who are really, really just regurgitating, and I know this, they're just regurgitating the things they're told and the things they're said. And I say that because I listened to probably a 45 to an hour long pitching discussion between a probably 11 or 12-year-old and a young coach. And that young coach in that discussion said all the right things. He said everything that comes from the coaching handbook. He had all the terminology. He had everything that is in the cliche coaching handbook. He was telling that kid. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, if you're a young coach you have to question what you know, why you know it. Even if you're still playing, question what you're not question. I'm not talking about question if you're still playing in a disrespectful way. I'm just questioning if you're being told certain specifics, then what is that doing to help you get better outcomes, right? Because at the end of the day, the outcomes are all that matter. We have the answers to the test. We know that pitchers that throw harder have a better chance to be successful. Look at the major league ERA numbers. As the velocities go up, the ERAs go down. If you hit balls harder, look at the major league exit velocity average. If your average exit velocity goes up, your batting average goes up. And so we know those parts and pieces to training. To train any other way, No, I'm not talking about game preparation. I'm not talking about in-game decisions. I'm just talking about strictly from a developmental standpoint. It's kind of pointless, because just like the guy that I was listening to talk to the pitcher, what was he doing that in the heat of the moment, when fight or flight is happening, and this goes for pitching and hitters, when your fight or flight sets in and the ball is flying at you, you're trying to get a pitcher out. All these little, finish this way and glove this, like none of that plays. None of that will carry over. And so how do you develop these movements and these things that will carry over when fight or flight sets in, when nervousness sets in, when adrenaline happens? Like how do you develop those things? I'm talking about my own coaching career and my own trajectory. I had all the terminology. I had it all figured out. Two, I had all the terminology. I had all the cues. I had all the answers. I had the fancy smancy language. I had it all. I mean, I had those things, and I did well. This is kind of a divergent talking point, but this is part of the discussion, is the difference in effort and results. I think some coaches oftentimes misinterpret the results for maybe their coaching, maybe their own cueing. And many times what I see and what I think is, I think, did a player have the natural genetical talent, central nervous system, all the adaptability to control their body and space to overcome the coaching, or was it because of the coaching? And many times it's the players that make it are the ones that have the innate talents and abilities to overcome any coaching. I've said it 100,000 times, and this is why I hate this time of year, is because it's better. It's absolutely 100% better to get no coaching at all than bad coaching. And bad coaching revolves around internal cues only. I'm not disregarding internal cues, but it's internal cues only. It's static positioning. It is just bad movement skill development. I saw a tweet this week about if young parents started sending their kids to walking school, there would be a whole generation of people that would then grow up believing that kids can't walk unless you go to walking school. And that's by and large what has happened. What has happened in this industry is parents now believe that your kid can't hit unless he takes lessons from the guru, right? And that's not true. Like, that's not at all true. Elite swings 50, 60, 70 years ago were developed in backyards. I almost tweeted out the link to the Barry Bonds choke-up video, to where Barry talks about choking up and swinging out a weighted bat, heavy bat from a young age. It was his dad's bat. And so he had to choke up, and he talks about hitting himself in the side. Barry Bonds swung weighted bats from his very early age. And we've talked upon the value of underload, overload training and mechanical patterning. I think that is the biggest misconception. And if one thing you can learn from me in watching this show is the value of movement patterns and patterning in overload throwing and overload swinging, is that patterning and that refinement of movement happens. That's the only way it can happen. You'll plateau throwing a 5-ounce ball or swinging a 30-ounce bat all the time. You'll just plateau. In order to get over that plateau and raise your output, your results, right? Your potential for results is to vary the environment, vary the constraint, vary the foot position, build in environmental constraints, and challenge, yourself. Whatever central nervous system you have, naturally challenge it. And so I think the value in that as a young coach is like you weren't coached that way. I wasn't coached that way. Quite frankly, the stuff that I'm doing now, I never did as a player. And that's good because I've evolved. It came down to, and if you've read my bio, where it started was I found a Zep sensor in a cage and I stuck it on a bat, and I started to get readouts on a Zep sensor that I didn't know what they meant. Like, I didn't have a clue what they meant, but I'm generally, in a lot of ways, a curious guy. And so I started to question the numbers that were on this thing. Like, what does all this mean? And so I always knew the value of the upward swing path to match the plane of the pitch. I always knew Ted Williams was right, but I was never really sure about how we could repeat that swing consistently. I thought I knew, but I didn't know. And so what I was teaching, the way I was teaching it was the way I was taught, frankly, at the professional level is the way I was taught. And I just thought, okay, well, they must know what they're doing because they're professionals, and I'm just going to do that. And then that sensor, I started to question, like, the number one thing that I saw, and you might see in your own sensor, is we can't repeat swing planes. Like, what we're doing, we're not able to repeat swing planes. So instead of throwing out the sensor, I really questioned what I was doing. And I think that's one of the things that happens with the sensors is coaches get them young and old. And this is not just a thing for young coaches. This is a thing for old coaches too. You can change. What's the I think old coaches that gripe about ego and they gripe about this or gripe about that are the very ones that have ego. Because if you can't change if you've done something one way, if you've done something one way for a long time, then if you change, then that must mean you're less of a coach or whatever. So yeah, you can't question their experience. I don't care about experience. Two, I don't care. What I care about is are you a thinker? Do you think? Do you ask why? Do you ask how? And do you ask those questions of your own self? Like, I get up every day and I live in a batting cage and I work in a batting cage and I work in a training facility and I question what I know all day, every day, almost to a point where I drive my own self mad in trying to get certain things to happen within swings without being too static, too internal in my coaching. Like, how can we create these positions dynamically? How can we develop swing patterns that are going to last when fight or flight sets in? How are we going to get players to be able to time and compete at a higher level without a lot of the fluff that's in the code, without a lot of the language that frankly doesn't matter? Because like I started with, when I'm watching this guy this young coach work with this young player, is he said everything right, but in 45 minutes to an hour, he literally did nothing that's going to help that particular player get Carol Dweck's book on mindset is really, really good. If you haven't read it, if you can go to my website and look at the book club, the books that are in there, I've read them all. They're all fantastic. That's why they're in there. Carol Dweck's mindset is in there. It's fixed in growth mindsets. The greatest gift that you could have as a player, as a coach in this game. It's why I love this game. It's why I'm still here, is because of my growth mentality and just the curiosity and figuring that, like, I love that. I've said it before. There's not much about baseball that I like. I don't love the coaching community. I don't love the showcase community. I don't love it. I don't love hardly any of it, but I love the growth mindset, and I love that I still believe that players deserve better than what they get most of the time. And so I'm not on Twitter to argue ego with people. I love humble brag guy. Humble brag guy on Twitter that says, well, ego. And it's like, dude, I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to share my ideas. I want to form a discussion around ideas. It makes me better, which I want to do. It makes you better, which I hope you want to do. And it makes the community better, which is all fixed mindset stuff. Like, I don't host this show, this discussion every week because I've got this big ego that I've got to be out here. I'm quite introverted, actually. I'm quite shy. I don't have a big social life. Like I just try to train players. I just try to read and research and find better ways to do things, and this is perfect for that. I would challenge young coaches, if you were a young coach and you were starting to get into this game, or you're an old coach and you've been doing something this particular way, I think the question that's more relevant for you is are my players succeeding in spite of what I'm doing or because of it? And I think you've got to answer that question honestly. I think that you have to answer that question honestly. And the best honest way that you can answer that question is measure what you know. We have the tools to measure what you know. That's what I'm saying. All these people that argue semantics on Twitter, it's fine. Just measure it. Just even something as simple as a swing sensor. Measure what you know. If what you know measures out and what you know shows that it can have, reproduced results, then you're good. Share it. That's why I started the Velo Lab online remote training plan. Is we were getting results that people could duplicate on their own, and I believed that. And I thought, this is too good not to share, so I wanted to share it. I wanted to put it in the community. I was going to give it away for free. And somebody talked me out of it, said, you can't give it away for free. You've worked too hard. You've put in too much time to do that. Charge this for it. I think a lot of people will get value from it, and they have. I love hearing from the remote clients that say, Chad, my exit velocity is up 7 or 8 miles an hour since December. The work is great. My relationship with my kid is better. He's excited about practicing, because here's another lesson for a young here's a lesson for young coaches too. If you're nothing more than an ambassador for the game, then if you develop nothing more than just a kid's having a passion and a love for training, then you've won. Like, you may not say the right stuff, but if you develop a passion for training, and I think in a lot of ways, kids don't enjoy training inside. It sucks. It's boring. If you don't make it competitive, you don't make it fun, then training inside is no good. I said a lot of times, if you don't have the right intent and you don't understand the right outcomes in a batting cage, don't hit in a batting cage. Just hit outside, because what people will accept outside, then they won't accept it in a cage, because it's off the top. It's just a pop-up, right? It's not a pop-up, okay? It's not a pop-up. And so, that's kind of where I'm at with this. Is this time of year, I have to listen to what everybody's coach is saying now, because coaches are back in the fold, and it's not frustrating to me. It's frustrating that the guys have to listen to it and the girls have to listen to it, because, the coach is 100% convinced he knows what he's talking about. And B, whether he does or doesn't matter, but we have the tools to measure what you know. And I think a lot of times, if guys took the time, trainers, coaches, guys that are giving lessons, whoever, took the time to just measure out what you know. If it works, it works. And I think a lot of times, girls would see, if you did that, then you would see that you can't reproduce it. I know that, because I've done more sensor work and I've looked at more sensor data and more hit tracks data, and every single day we're churning out hit tracks that, what we're doing produces what we want to produce: elite barrel acceleration, better barrel speed, more consistent swing plane. That's it. Are there somebody that we were talking yesterday on Twitter about a hitting roundtable at a national fast pitch coaches convention sometime? Be glad to be a part of that. There were several names in that would offer way better insight than I would, but I could probably bring value to that. I'm not humble brag guys like, well, yada, yada, yada. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I think that I could maybe add value to the discussion. So I'd be glad to be a part of that. Maybe I can't add value. I don't know. I'm not comedic relief for certain. I'm not a very funny guy. I do like to laugh and joke and make fun of people, but I'm not a tremendously funny guy. So I'll hopefully bring some funny guys and we can laugh and have a good time and hopefully learn some hitting and some kinetic chain and kinetic sequence and movement patterns and swing development, and we can all have a good time and learn from each other. There was another question about something else. I can't remember. There was a comment about measure. That was Kevin. Maybe not what the majority want to watch to hear. Yeah, for sure. Softball is an interesting place. Softball is for sure an interesting place. I haven't done a remote clinic in a while. I'll be honest, I'm probably out in the next couple months. A remote clinic, we're bringing in our high school guys. We're bringing in our high school guys now on Saturdays. Now that they're in season, the ones that we've trained for the last 8 months, we're bringing them in on Saturdays to get their in-season programming done. I'm losing one of my trainers to go to Driveline. One of my pro guys that trains our guys, he's going to Driveline in like 2 weeks, and so we're trying to fill that position for a throwing pitching trainer. And so we're losing him. So my time is limited on Saturdays. I will get back on the on-site clinics. We talked about Mississippi. I'd love to come to Mississippi. If you want to shoot me a message about doing an on-site training day with hit tracks, weighted bats, just training programming. The details of that are I will come to wherever you are. I'll set up my equipment. My technology will run through the weighted bat. No, he didn't steal him. Chase is going out there to train because Chase is trying to get signed. Chase is a guy that trains our guys. And so he's going out there to train. He's not going out there to coach. Hopefully Chase will get signed. It'd be great for Chase. He's kind of a guy that we're training, and then he takes and then he earns some money. I pay him to train. To run the Driveline throwing programs that we do in that facility. He's been great. He's been awesome. He's one of the young guys that truly is a thinker, and he's truly a young guy that does what he says and says what he's going to do, which is really rare in young people. He's patient. He does what he says, and he says what he's going to do. He's reliable. He's on time. He's good. I don't pay him enough. I'd like to pay him more, but again, we're in business, so revenue and this, that, or the other, he needs to be paid more. Again, there was another question. About something. Again, my name is Chad Longworth. If you're turning in and watching this, this is the Sunday Swings live show. We get in talking points, discussion points. We take questions, fire off questions if you've got them. I'm probably on here for 6 or 7 more minutes. Love the back and forth discussion. This is your time to not tweet at me or DM at me, but you can ask discussions and I will talk on them. Things to keep in mind for a successful young coach. Number one is just if you really want to be a coach, okay, then you have to dive in and you have to learn everything that you can learn. You don't know everything, so just dive in and try to learn as much as you can. Where do we go for site metric setup in the SIP? I don't know what that means. Where do we go for site metric setup? I don't know. Young coaches though, and be patient. Be patient. You know, you've got time, but find people you like. It may not be me. It can be anybody. Don't follow them because they're funny or cool or whatever. Follow them because their work's really good. Speaking of Kyle is a great mentor. Oh, Mississippi. Just shoot me a DM and we can talk about the details of doing an on-site clinic in Mississippi. I'd love to do one. I haven't done one since before Christmas, but I've been really busy. This time of year we get really, really busy in-house. We get really, really busy in-house with players, and so I'm having to tend to that. The Diamond Kinetic Swing Tracker, yeah, it's the one that we use. It's coming out with the exit velocity launch angle tracking using the phone's camera soon. It's going to be really, really good. Again, it's another tool and another accessory to measure your output of your training, which should be weighted back, which should be a combination of rotational power, stability, mobility, swing patterns, intent, like all those things. If you follow my, I post a lot of Instagram story content with some of the movement stuff that we do. If you're not in the Velo Lab online and you don't have access to all the drills and all the programs and all the information, if you follow that, you get to see a lot of the day-to-day drill training work. I've got another facility page that I post a little more in there. But again, that's to get clients and awareness in the door of the training we do, because quite frankly, it's different. It's not traditional. And so I told somebody that this week, like I lose a lot of business, and it is a business. I lose a lot of clients and I lose a lot of business because I don't do I don't charge $50 an hour to do an hour's worth of knowledge performance with all the language and all the stuff, but people pay that, but I refuse to be a part of that. I refuse to be a part of that. I don't like it. I think it's a ripoff. I think it's a total farce in this community. And so I refuse to be a part of that. We do training. It's low cost, group training with measurable output, and it works really, really well. It's just people don't believe it works really, really well. Thoughts on video? We use video every day. I use video way more than the players do. I don't make players watch their own videos. If they don't want to watch videos, I use video for players so that I can help better identify deficiency in their drills or in their video, to help them with better cueing points, focus points in their overload movement pattern work. And so we use video. I use video a lot because I want to be certain in what I'm telling a player. Yeah, so the weighted back training and the stuff that we do is used by high school coaches, college coaches across the country. We have 2 top 15 college programs running weighted back programs. Not specifically mine, but parts and pieces of mine, and they implement it, and we talk back and forth about how they can implement it. High school coaches, college coaches, all levels. I will help you write kind of a day-to-day idea of how you're going to implement weighted back training into your program, and then you won't. Measurable feedback into your program with something just as simple as a swing sensor. So I don't find that players really like to number one quality when looking at young coaches to hire. That is a great question. The number one quality when looking at young coaches that I want to do is just be reliable, do what you say you're going to do, do what you say and say what you do. Like, don't say one thing and then do another. Like, be consistent in what you say, put in the work, put in the time, put in the consistency, and be reliable. Like, that's it. If you can do that, you'll climb the ladder, because so many young coaches are impatient. So many don't work consistently. That, like, they'll work hard in spurts, but you got to bring it every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You have to put in the work. That's for players. That's for coaches. Like, if you're not that committed, I told somebody the other day, this is my 12th year coaching. If there's 365 days in a year, I probably either coach or spend time coaching or spend time thinking about coaching 360 of them. I don't take that many days off, in facility, out of facility. I've been doing that for 12 years. I'm trying to slow down now. I'm trying to build systems and things and measurement tools that can work without me, because I've got 2 kids, and like Friday, my daughter had a basketball game. And so I needed to go to the basketball game, but I needed the programs because people need to train and get value when I'm not there. And that's been the great thing about the online training part, is like people are getting value. Look to hire inside your connection zone or willing to go outside your inner circle. I don't know. For me, I just need people that are reliable and say what they're going to do, and they're going to be patient. I don't want people that are going to bring preconceived notions or ego around me, because I want to have open discussions and open talking points. Like, we don't get anything set in stone. We measure what we do. We tweak what we do all the time, and we try to make it better every day. If you bring ego and hard stances, like, I don't want to be around you. So I don't care really where you come from. I just don't want to be around fixed-minded people. I was making another point, though. I can't remember what it was. Another question. Again, this is a discussion about young coaches, so I think we made a lot of points for young coaches that you need to question. You need to start by questioning what you know. Like, don't just coach the way you've coached because that's the way you were coached. A lot of people are just doing that. They're coaching the way they were coached, working every day. My own schedule, but I would encourage young coaches to work every single day. If you're serious about this as a career, then you've got to do something to either better yourself, serve somebody, or build something better every single day. Have you ever felt like you get burned out early? Sort of, kinda. I mean, not really, because honestly, it's just a curiosity for me. It's just a curiosity, and I really enjoy when I don't get to be around them this much, especially where I live. There's a lot of fixed-minded people where I live, but I really, really, really enjoy, and there's no way I would burn out spending time around fixed-minded people all the time. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes the way you were coached can show you. That's what it ended up being for me. Like, I did what I did for probably 6 years, the first 6 years of my career. And did we get good results? Yes. Now, was that because they were overcoming what I was telling them? Was it because we were providing enough reps to where their genetics and their talents were able to overcome maybe my cueing? Sure, I think it was. Like, I'm not so naive to the fact that players succeeded a lot of the times because we were providing them with enough repetitions to where genetically, from a central nervous system standpoint, they were just able to overcome my inept ideas. So that is. But again, it turned with a swing sensor. It turned with the technology, and now I am where I am, completely 360 degrees because of that. Like, what I'm doing today was not the way I was coached. It was not the way I was brought to understand how things were developed. But it came about because, I have a curiosity and I have a growth mind, and I just don't rely on what I still don't rely on what I know. I find interesting things on video every day that I think to myself, man, that is an interesting thing. Like, I don't know how that particular hitter does that, or how we're even going to fix that, or how we're going to tackle that in a swing pattern environment, but we'll figure it out, I suppose. And a lot of times we do. I think I was talking about the online clients. It's really cool to see them getting results. People I've never met, people that I'll never meet, maybe. Using the programs, building their tools, following the plan, measuring it out, and getting better results. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Do you get better, measurable results that give you an opportunity when the game begins and your feet hit the batter's box or the mound, fight or flight sets in, we got adrenaline pumping. Can you execute like that? Like, can you execute what you want to do to get the ball that's going to go that way, or the pitch that's going to execute and get the hitter out? Don't be romantic, because it's no more complicated than that. Softball is the same way. Can you get the ball to go that way? Can you throw the ball hard in the strike zone? We're working with some softball girls now. We've got a softball pitchers. I wrote some weighted ball softball pitching programming that we are testing in-house that we're going to release hopefully by June is my hope. But it's no more complicated. Can you throw this ball at higher rates of speed in that strike zone? Because the harder you throw it in that strike zone, the better you're going to be. And so we wrote weighted ball training for softball girls. It's going really, really well. It appears as though our softball programming is getting somewhat the similar results as our baseball programming. But again, it's too early to release. We don't have the products for it yet. So that's stuff that hopefully will all come around in roughly June. So I hope June, maybe before, but I hope June. Are there any other questions, concerns? These are really good. I love it when you all fire questions at me and we can talk. This is what this show is for. It's for discussion and talking point. If you missed the previous shows, I'm uploading them to a podcast. I don't do a real good job because I get chasing the rabbit 1,000 different directions every day, and then before I can do it, it's training time, and so I'm training players till 8:00 at night every night. Then I have to come home. I've got 2 kids and a wife that I have to give attention to before they go to bed. And by that time, I am spent and exhausted, and so. But yes. And then you can go to my YouTube channel. You can just search my name on both. It's just my name, Chad Longworth, on both podcasts and YouTube, SoundCloud for Android users. If you missed previous episodes, you can go there. Follow my Instagram. In my Instagram story, I put daily kind of training stuff there. So go there and find it. Yes, so everybody should that has basic competency of swinging a bat and hitting a ball should do some levels of weighted bat training. Some levels. Not real high intense, not real heavy, but some levels. It's like saying I can't lift, I'm weak as water. Should I lift weights? Well, of course you should. Of course, the only way to figure it out is to start. I can't swing that good. Should I swing a weighted bat? Sure you should. Sure you should. It's the only way to start to figure it out. Just use anything. You can, I got lead tape. We got washer videos. We got videos on, I got some bats that I build, that I sell on my website. McCoy Bats builds some often. Some bats for me that does some overload, underload. How often to use weighted bats in season. I wrote weighted bat programs for guys in season that they're going to use 4 days a week. The loads aren't going to be real far off of their game weights, but they're going to use overloaded implements every day. And quite frankly, when you're taking that many swings during the season, it's important that you vary the environment to constantly challenge your body and your nervous system to have to adapt in real time with a different implement with a different environmental constraint and a different implement in your hand. So it's really, really important you do it in season. It's a really, really important. And I shared this story about Coach Monty Lee at Clemson. We wrote weighted bat training programs for them. They'd gotten back from their Christmas break. Their exit velocities were up on team average 3 miles an hour. They got into their practice. They kind of went away from their weighted bats a bit. And when they retested their exit velocities down, so he's trying to build it back into their daily routine. Bought a few on eBay, made them. Yeah, it's a great buy them on eBay and build them on. How in the summertime, weighted ball, weighted bat, depending upon how much on-field volume if they have. If they're not playing every day, then they can go at it. So they should and could go at it 5 to 6 days a week. I think if you're a college player and you're not training in your off season 5 to 6 days a week, you're just not that serious about it. High school kids, you're lucky on a high school kid to get 3. Once you get to that next level, 3 is not going to suffice, so you're going to need 5 to 6 training days a week, depending on how much on-field volume you have. If you have on-field volume, then I think 3. It depends on, again, in the summertime, are we going to be straight velocity development? Are we going to be pattern maintenance? Because I think there's a difference in velocity development and pattern maintenance. Like if you want to be velocity development, you've never swung weighted bats before or thrown weighted balls before, then I think you've got to put a minimum of 3 days in. And if your on-field volume is high and you can't get a minimum of 3 days in, then you've got to back the load up and just do pattern development, throwing pattern and swing pattern, or not development, but maintenance. You've got to do swing pattern maintenance. Ever come across a player who hasn't been able to change a flaw in his muscle memory pattern? Not with overload bats. The way I used to do it, I used to beat my head up against the wall, because all I had was cues. That's all I had. And so we would run into the same snags all the time. But now that we're doing the way that we're doing in the process that we're doing it, we get the swing patterns we want to see with players. It's just at that point, how adaptable can we make them? How strong can we make them? How well can we make them move in space? How well can we make them adapt in space? Because their swing patterns then become like kind of a non-issue. Like their swing patterns are clean and good. Lead to players, couldn't weighted bats lead to players simplifying swings? I mean, here's how simple I want players' swings. You ready? See the ball and hit it far. I mean, that's as complicated as I want it when it's in the game. Like, see the ball and hit it far. Like, it's no more complicated than that in the game. It will always be more complex than that in a training environment, but hopefully if you do that, then we would want players. No, I don't coach players how to load and move. Like, I leave that alone. That's for them to figure out. We've got specific parameters we want them to concentrate on in their drill work, but I haven't coached a load. I haven't overcoached a load in maybe 5 years. Players kind of find their own load and how they want to move, and we talk about how they're moving and how they feel like they should be moving, but I don't tell them how to do it. They figure that out. They know that up front. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to stand. I'm not going to tell you how to load. I'm going to tell you what you need to have happen within your load, but other than that, you go find the best way for you to do that. Once you get to the game, see it, hit it far. Like, that's as simple as it goes. Be on time, see it, hit it far. That's the in-game approach. Look for the ball up. Look for the ball up, see it, hit it far. That's it. Okay? Don't get lost in the semantics of trying to sound too smart. I think a lot of coaches do that. Like, be on time, see the ball, look for it up, hit it far. Like, that's it. If you've done the work, then that works. If you haven't done the work, that's going to be complicated because you're not going to be ready to do that in that fight or flight, reactionary, adrenaline-packed scenario where nerves are involved and all these intent is different and, scoreboard is on and crowds' butts are in the seats and there's all kinds of different environmental things. If you've trained in just this one lane in this clean environment where you've hit some baseballs off the tee and done some nice front toss and posed on your finish, you're in trouble. You're in trouble when that happens because you're not ready. If you've trained dynamically and you've trained in a chaotic environment, I tweeted that. Train in a chaotic environment. Mix the environment up. Overloads, underloads, inloads, knob loads, side toss, both sides, underload, 3-plate, bounce, like moving bounce. It's struggle with dealing with athletes and their school coaches. Do you communicate with them? It's fun. It's really, really funny because with players this time of year, especially the ones that I coach, they don't reach out to me very much. College players don't. High school players don't. They don't reach out to me a lot. So I don't. But the ones that I do talk to a lot, having to hear what their coach is doing and saying, it's tough to listen to. But do I struggle with it? No, I don't. Because I don't talk to them. I don't reach out to my guys and bother them. If they need me, they know they can reach out to me, but they normally don't. Hopefully, again, the best thing that I believe as a coach, and this is maybe the last point that I'll make on the young coach topic. The best thing that I believe as a coach is a good coach and a good teacher makes themselves obsolete. Like, hopefully I've done a good enough job where they do not need me anymore. Like, I don't want them to need me. I want them to have grasped and done everything that they can grasp from me and then go and put the numbers up, because that's at the end of the day what you have to go on is like go and put the numbers up. Like, you've done the training, you've got the ideas, you've got the concepts. If you need me, I'm here, but hopefully you won't, because hopefully I've done a good enough job to where I've made myself obsolete. That's my hope. That is my hope with coaches. That is my hope with players. That is my hope with the online people, that I put enough information in that thing to make myself obsolete. Do we see setbacks in their own training? Absolutely. When they get out, so the players that are out now, when they come back in June, they'll inevitably be worse. Players you coach, how do you think they should respond to a coach who says, hit it on the ground. I think you have to appease your coach, and that is a different conversation for a different day. You have to appease your coach, and there's ways to do it without destroying your movement pattern. It's not that big a deal. Just make your movement pattern really inefficient for that one thing to appease the outcome, and then when you get to do what you want to do, get back to your dynamic pattern and intent and go. It's not that big a deal. You saw my tweet about the 40-degree pop-up. Swinging down's not the answer, but we can talk about that another day. Is there any other questions, concerns, or regards? Again, good show tonight, good discussion tonight, good talking point. If you're a young coach, question what you know. This will post sometime this week. I got to get more podcasts updated. If you're not on the podcast yet, go to the podcast, listen to the podcast. You can always shoot me messages, DMs. I have open DMs on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to see daily training stories that are on my Instagram stories, I post a lot of MLB video on my Instagram. I'm trying to turn my Instagram. I'm trying to go to Instagram more, just because there's less guru jargon on Instagram. I just kind of put my value out there, and then if we want to have a discussion point, then we have a discussion point. That's fine. There's a little more uneducated talk on Instagram, but I'd rather have uneducated talk than guru jargon. Like, it's trying to argue in semantics and trying to argue who's the smartest person here is just dumb. Doesn't do anybody value. I've blocked a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of good Twitters, because, like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we trying to do here? Okay, so here is, again, my name is Chad Longworth, Sunday Swings live show. Thank you for watching. Go podcast, YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube. I'm almost to 400 subscribers. Subscribe to my YouTube. Just go over there, search my name, and you will find me. Thank you for watching.